Ship ahoy! New tonight on our news at 7, the newly redeveloped Nassau cruise port set for a spring 2023 grand opening. The Prime Minister reveals the former CEO of FTX was interviewed by local police. We've got the details tonight. It's World AIDS Day. We'll show you how the Bahamas is marking the global observance. And then in our news at 7:30, in his own words, the former FTX chief speaks publicly, reportedly against the advice of his lawyers. Our news live at 7 starts now. Welcome to our news live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. We are now months away from the grand opening of the newly redeveloped Nassau cruise port, set for late May 2023. The Prime Minister on a tour of the multi-million-dollar facility today. Jamila Mizik was there.
Prime Minister Philip Davis touring the new Nassau cruise port on Thursday. Spearheading the tour, CEO of the Nassau Cruise Port Limited, Mike Mora, explains some of what visitors can expect.
Once we move from these 50 authentically Bahamian entrepreneurs and past the hair braiders, we move into larger F&B and retail spaces.
Mora says currently there are 300 people working on the project, Bahamians making up half of that number. As for the cost of the project, Mora says spending has been higher than anticipated, just under $300 million.
You know, obviously that was impacted by material cost rises due to the pandemic and so forth, the difficulty in getting construction workers, you know, even here in the Bahamas when people would catch COVID and so forth, and contact tracing the rest, it slowed the project down. We had expected to be finished, you know, long before the last weekend of May of 2023.
And based on the new design, Mora says the port can hold up to 6 larger cruise vessels at a time.
More importantly, it's about passenger counts. So what we do is we've gone from 20,000 maximum capacity to over or around 33,000 passengers in a given day.
Works Minister Alfred Sayers also on the tour. He says the signature project will provide a stimulus to Bay Street and open up a myriad of opportunities for those who work in the orange economy.
There is an amphitheater, the performance arts, there's a Junkanoo museum, so it will give the visitors who will be coming in greater numbers.
Now the cruise port's grand opening is slated for May 2023. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
We've got new details tonight in the FTX collapse and investigation, as the Prime Minister revealing today that former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried has been interviewed by local law enforcement. This latest revelation as Bankman-Fried made his first public appearance in an ABC News interview today. Prime Minister Davis spoke to members of the media following that tour of the new Nassau cruise port, also weighing in on the ongoing investigations and FTX's impact on the local real estate market.
That is going.
Thank you.
I got that. Yeah, that's going.
Has the former FTX CEO been interviewed by local authorities as yet?
I heard that he was.
And what are your thoughts on the impact it's going to have on our local real estate market?
It'll have no impact to me.
Before its collapse, reports say the crypto company, which set up its headquarters in the Bahamas earlier this year, bought $300 million worth of real estate. We've got more on that interview with Sam Bankman-Fried coming up in our news at 7:30. The Court of Appeal has upheld the murder conviction of a man who is serving a 31-year sentence for a 2019 shooting outside Rockers Bar on Miami Street. 24-year-old Joel Bullard was found guilty on March 1st, 2021 of the murder of Gary Leon, which was caught on surveillance cameras. Before the trial, Nathaniel Josie, who witnessed the shooting, died. However, his statement to police in which he identified Bullard as the killer was read into evidence. Josie also picked out Bullard, whom he knew as Fruit Ninja, from a photo lineup. In seeking to overturn the conviction, defense lawyer David Cash argued the admission of Josie's statement made the trial unfair because he could not be cross-examined. Cash also complained that the trial judge shouldn't have permitted police officer Leslie White to identify Brown from the surveillance footage. The appellate court did not find any merit on these grounds. A tip leading police in Grand Bahama to find thousands of dollars worth of marijuana hidden in bushes. According to reports, officers made the marijuana find around 2 p.m. on Tuesday after they searched a bushy area in North Bahamia. The drugs weighed 3 pounds and have an estimated street value of $3,000. No arrests were made. Still to come on our news, the war of words between a major union and government continues as the acting state public service minister speaks out. Plus, how a new labor convention is moving to protect against child labor in the country, and why the parents of some preschoolers have reason to celebrate. It's all coming up when our news continues. Acting Minister for the Public Service, Zane Lightbourne, says the ministry is ready to complete negotiations with the Bahamas Public Services Union. This as BPSU and the nation's newest umbrella union is accusing government of disregarding the bargaining agent. The back and forth starting over pay increases for senior public servants. Lightbourne says as soon as the union communicates a response to the government on the latest proposal, things will get moving now. A statement attributed to Lightbourne says government is placing priority on ensuring salary increases are rolled out for public servants by the end of the year. It goes on to say these actions do not impede the eventual signing of an agreement between the BPSU and government. And given the years of salary stagnation and inflation, the ministry believes all public servants will welcome incremental increases, especially before the holidays. The Bahamas signing 2 international labor conventions today and launching the implementation of the National Child Labor Policy. Labor leaders from all backgrounds gathering to ratify ILO Convention 190 on violence and harassment and aims to ensure women are safe, respected and valued in the workplace. Zona Club of New Providence President Marissa Mason-Smith says the Bahamas is leading in domestic violence cases, which is unacceptable.
We believe that through education of our women and girls, it will make a difference. When 72% of our households are headed by women, we have work to do.
Officials also signing ILO Convention 159, which provides for vocational rehabilitation measures for all categories of disabled persons and for opportunities and equal treatment of disabled men and women. Meanwhile, the National Child Labor Policy is aimed at eliminating and preventing child labor. Assistant Labor Director Yolantha Yalap highlights one of the goals of the national policy.
To prevent and prohibit children from entering the labor market before the minimum age of employment, with ways to report on incidences and penalties for violators. And how do we do this? We plan on harmonizing and revising the legal framework, strengthening our interministerial ties, and highlighting those responsibilities with our social partners.
And good news for parents of preschoolers as the Ministry of Education partners with over 100 private schools to provide free education for 1,500 students around the country. The deal that was originally introduced in 2018 now provides vouchers valuing $2,000 per student per annum to assist in attending school. Assistant Director of Education Leah Burrows providing information to parents who are interested in the program.
Parents who apply must have an interview with social services, and that is how we identify, number one, their eligibility, we identify their vulnerability, and we prioritize them based on both of those factors. So you must be Bahamian and you must be 3 or 4 years old. We also require you to identify the area that you live and you prove your residency. That way we know which schools to advise as partners in that area.
And we've got more reaction from preschool owners coming up in our news at 7:30. Our intern Joshua Williams has the story. When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as a Quebec party wants to end the country's oath to King Charles III. And the world has a plastics problem. What are we prepared to do about it? And a message of hope on World AIDS Day 2022. The story straight ahead. This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's tax returns have been handed over to a committee of the U.S. House of Representatives after the former president lost a long legal battle to keep them sealed. The Treasury Department says it has complied, that is, with a Supreme Court order that the records should be given to a panel in the Democrat-controlled House. It is unclear if the returns will be made public or what they will reveal. Trump, who previously declined their release, is yet to comment but has previously denied any wrongdoing. China has signaled a shift in its COVID stance as it moves to ease some virus restrictions despite high daily case numbers. Dozens of districts in Shanghai and Guangzhou, cities that have seen rising cases, were released from lockdown measures on Thursday. The country's vice premier also announced that the country was facing a new situation. It comes as China is seeing mass protests against its zero COVID policy. The U.S. Virgin Islands announced Wednesday that it reached a settlement of more than $105 million in a sex trafficking case against the estate of financier Jeffrey Epstein. The settlement ends a nearly 3-year legal saga for officials in the U.S. territory, which sought to hold Epstein accountable after he was accused of sexually abusing dozens of underage girls and of causing environmental damage on the 2 tiny islands he owned in UVI. The islands will be sold as part of the agreement. Quebec Solidaire political party opposed to swearing an oath to Britain's King Charles says it expects to introduce legislation that would make it optional. It's unclear whether the party, which represents just 11 ridings in the 125-seat assembly, would have widespread support. It comes after the death of Queen Elizabeth in September, revived debate among Canadians on whether the country should continue with the decades-old system of British monarchy. And Cuba has denied that its Coast Guard vessel was to blame for a collision with a migrant-packed boat that led to the deaths of 7 people, including a 2-year-old girl, saying the migrant boat made an abrupt turn in heavy swells that caused the crash. The boat was headed to the United States when it flipped over in October after the crash about 2 hours from the capital of Havana. Here at home, the move to tackle global action on plastics pollution is gaining momentum. The Bahamas has already made significant strides, but there's still quite a ways to go. Here's Christina Dragovich with your Sustainability First report.
Bahamas First, putting sustainability first for our people and our environment. What's first for you and the planet comes first for us.
Bye-bye plastics. That's the goal of a proposed United Nations Global Plastic Treaty, which aims to cut plastics globally by 2040. It's on the agenda at the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee meeting, currently in Uruguay. Japan's Vice Minister for Global Environmental Affairs, Hiroshi Ono, says he believes a legally binding solution is needed to see action on plastic pollution.
The increasing pollution suggests that they are clearly not sufficient to address the issue so far. A legally binding solution is now necessary to bring all countries on board.
The Bahamas has already taken action to phase out and ban single-use plastics, including plastic bags, straws, food utensils, and styrofoam containers. Now other countries around the world are stepping up to reimagine and even redesign products to cut plastics. The Green Deal, the proposed United Nations Plastic Waste Treaty, would consider putting restrictions on quote, problematic plastics. A lobbyist for the American Chemistry Council says it will have far-reaching effects.
We need better systems. We need to look at product redesign. We need to look at delivery mechanisms for consumers across the life cycle of plastics and across the various uses.
That UN treaty is set to be finalized by 2024. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Still to come in Our News, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was December 1st as the man the busy Dowdeswell Street on New Providence was named after died in England. Plus, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. And then in Our News at 7:30, it's official. The countdown is on to the return of Junkanoo to Bay Street. The sights and sounds from the official launch when Our News returns. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was December 1st. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1828, William Dowdeswell died at his residence in England. Dowdeswell was governor and commander-in-chief of the Bahama Islands from 1791 to 1801. His 10 years as governor of the colony witnessed the Loyalists becoming the dominant political group in the House of Assembly, as well as the decline on the cotton boom in the Bahama Islands. Dowdeswell Street in New Providence is named after him. Then in 1912, William Robinson, a member of the Slave Trade Commission who served as governor and commander-in-chief of these islands from 1874 to 1800, died in London of heart disease. A year after his command of the Bahamas ended, Robinson was appointed governor of the Windward Islands before holding the post in Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. Then on December 1st, 1949, musician and songwriter Phil Stubbs was born in Dumfries, Cat Island. The rake and scrape and Bahamian folk music entertainer is known for songs such as Cry of the Potcake, Down Home, Bonefish Foley, O Cat Island, and Stress. The first U.S. president to set foot on Bahamian soil, the late John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States, is seen here with Prime Minister Harold Macmillan of England at their two-day meeting in Nassau in December 1962. The two met to discuss the cancellation of the Skybald air-to-ground missile series. Then in 1995, Cleveland Wilmore Aeneas Sr. died in Atlanta, Georgia at the age of 80. Dr. Aeneas was an educator, historian, and doctor of dental surgery. He is the author of the popular book Baintown, and the primary school on New Providence is named in his honor. In 2005, Paul Lawrence Adderley became the acting Governor General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. He served in that office after Dame Ivy Dumont stepped down. He remained Governor General until Arthur Hanna was sworn in on February 1st, 2006. And on this day in world history, December 1st, 1761, saw the birth of Marie Tussaud. She was born in France and is credited as the founder of Madame Tussauds Museum of Wax Figures. In 1913, the world's first moving assembly line debuted, used in manufacturing Model Ts at a Ford factory in Highland Park, Michigan. The innovation was the idea of owner Henry Ford, and it revolutionized the auto industry. And finally, on this day in 1955, civil rights icon Rosa Parks refused to surrender her bus seat to a white passenger and was arrested. It sparked a 381-day bus boycott led by Martin Luther King Jr. Well, today is World AIDS Day, and International Day dedicated to raising awareness about the AIDS epidemic. It's the whole reason why we've got on these casual shirts tonight. Well, members of the Bahamas AIDS Foundation hosted a candlelight vigil to remember those who died from HIV and AIDS, as well as those who continue in the fight. We continue our stories now with Jamila Missick, who was there.
It was a somber evening and a night of remembrance on the eve of World AIDS Day as those in attendance joined together for the Bahamas AIDS Foundation's annual candlelight vigil. President of the Bahamas AIDS Foundation, Camille Lady Barnett.
The goal is to remember those persons who've already died, sadly have died from HIV and AIDS, from AIDS-related causes, and also to remember those who are living, who are still living with HIV and AIDS. And it's actually a time for the world to unite, because the World AIDS, it's a World AIDS Day theme, it's international, and the world unites in its fight against HIV and AIDS.
She also addressed this year's theme, Equalize.
The reality is that persons who are part of a minority group, for whatever reason, often find that it's difficult for them to access certain services and facilities that they have a right to have access to. And if they have access to them, that they're not treated fairly. And so all we're asking is that everyone, be treated with dignity and with respect, irregardless of who they are or whether they're HIV positive or whether they're not HIV positive.
Director of the National HIV, AIDS, and Infectious Disease Program, Dr. Nakia Forbes, gave a message of hope.
We have to remain intentional in our efforts to tackle the barriers preventing access to prevention, treatment, care, and support, and to remove the fear of stigma and discrimination. Let's go beyond remembering. Let's fight, take action to end AIDS, not allowing any AIDS-related death to go in vain. We must take action.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Missick.
All right, thanks for that, Jamila, and for all of the stories this week highlighting the efforts in the fight. And if you want to watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. That does it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is our Talia Hall. She's got the latest headlines. Talia?
Yes, Ken, and as you said, we've been talking about this all week, just trying to shed light on the efforts of local healthcare professionals and the work of the AIDS Foundation.
Yes, and our thanks to the Bahamas AIDS Foundation, right? They've been in the fight for so many years. They actually provided these shirts that you see us wearing tonight, all to support the cause.
All right, absolutely. Our hats off to the AIDS Foundation and to all of the healthcare professionals actively in the fight. Now, we've got a lot more to get to. Here's the latest headlines.
In his own words, new tonight on our news at 7:30, former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried denies committing fraud. He's speaking out against his lawyer's advice. Plus, a mother is demanding answers after she says her daughter was hurt in a school scuffle. Our Megan Shepherd has the story. And you can almost feel it. Junkanoo season is here. Details from the official launch. And a downtown resort is lit for Christmas. Our Marlena Leonard is live at the Margaritaville Christmas tree lighting this evening. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Talia Hall. Sam Bankman-Fried, in his first public appearance since the collapse of his billion-dollar FTX crypto exchange, denying that he committed fraud. In the interview with ABC News from the Bahamas, Bankman-Fried said his lawyers had advised him not to speak publicly, but he has ignored them. The embattled former CEO says he had not deliberately misled investors, adding, "I didn't ever try to commit fraud."
I don't think that's who I am at all, but I understand why they're saying that.
FTX fell apart last month, having once been valued at $32 billion. Many investors have not been able to withdraw their funds from the now bankrupt global exchange, now in bankruptcy proceedings. Bankman-Fried, who as recently as late October had a net worth estimated at more than $15 billion, also saying he had a bad month, while denying having moved any personal money out of FTX himself, and says he now has close to nothing. He was asked several times about the details of money movements between FTX and other entities, including trader firm he owned, Alameda Research.
I don't know of FTX deposits being used to pay off Alameda creditors. A few things happen. The first is there is a margin trading facility on FTX, by which users can lend out funds, by which other users borrow funds. And so there are explicit cases where there is, margin extended, where there is borrow lending. I did not know that there is any improper use of customer funds. I really deeply wish that I had taken a lot more responsibility for understanding what the details were of what was going on there. I knew that legal was involved. I knew that other groups at the company were involved, that there were agreements drafted up. I should have been on top of this, and I feel really, really bad and regretful that I wasn't. And a lot of people got hurt, and that's on me.
And we are learning Bankman-Fried has been interviewed by local law enforcement. That's according to Prime Minister Philip Davis, who made the revelation to members of the media following a tour of the new Nassau cruise port today. The PM was asked about the ongoing investigation and FTX impact on the local real estate market.
That is going.
Thank you.
I got that. Yeah, that's going.
Has the former FTX CEO been interviewed by local authorities as yet?
I heard that he was.
And what are your thoughts on the impact it's going to have on our local real estate market?
It'll have no impact to me.
Before its collapse, a crypto company, which set up its headquarters in the Bahamas earlier this year, reportedly bought $300 million worth of real estate. Well, A mother is calling for answers and accountability tonight after she alleges that her daughter has been verbally and physically assaulted at her high school. She tells our Megan Shepard she's still searching for answers.
Shantiqua Lloyd is a graduate of C.C. Sweeting High, and now her 14-year-old daughter attends the institution. However, Lloyd says some 3 weeks ago, things started going downhill for the student.
One of the teachers told her, "Oh, little girl, go that way. I don't play with children." And she'll slap her head or spin her head around like a wheelbarrow.
She says her daughter then went to report the incident.
After that, I went to the station and I put in a complaint against the teacher. The police, I went to Quaco Street, they told me I have to go to Ministry of Education to deal with that type of matter.
Lloyd says just last week, a group of students were fighting. Her daughter was simply standing by when she was physically assaulted by another student.
Or that's what witness them told me. Or my daughter hollered and say, "Oh, don't touch me, y'all send me home, I tired of this, I'd rather be with my brother is. Now I have a son who passed away."
She alleges the very next day, while conducting a bag search, another school administrator told her daughter that she was not allowed on campus. She says for days she was given the runaround while seeking answers from administration. Today, she finally had a meeting with the school's principal.
The allegations that I have against the teachers my daughter is not to come back to school till next week, Wednesday, to take up her makeup exams. But the girl who assaulted her still in school. The teachers what made her feel some type of way, they still in school.
At this point, Lloyd says she will wait for a resolution from administration, but she is strongly considering relocating her daughter. She admits that her daughter is not perfect, but says she is not a violent or troublesome child.
Me and my daughter have that bond where we talk to each other. If she wrong, she'd be like, "Mommy, I ain't gonna lie. I say this and I say that."
Now, our news team visited C.C. Sweeting High School and spoke to Principal Vanessa Roll. She declined an on-camera interview regarding the circumstances. Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Thanks, Megan. Well, one day after a man was shot to death in Grand Bahama, police are already questioning two men in connection with crime. The 41 and 39-year-olds were arrested by officers from the Criminal Investigation Department and K-9 unit just before noon on Wednesday. The arrest went down in the area of Adventurers Way. You may recall that shortly before 11 p.m. on Tuesday, a man believed to be in his early 30s was found through a track road with gunshot injuries to the body. That homicide took the count to 121 for the year. Self-styled activist Omar Archer is appealing his conviction for intentional libel and has been granted bail until the matter is decided. Last month, the 50-year-old was sentenced to 3 months imprisonment over a series of posts he made on Facebook back in 2015. Archer posted a woman's photo on his Facebook page and falsely claimed that she had AIDS and was deliberately infecting others, and that she had killed her baby and buried the child in a bucket. He did not testify in his defense at his trial, nor did he call any witnesses. Well, winds picking up a bit as we head into Friday. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with a look at our current conditions. Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, good evening, Natalia, and good evening, everybody, and happy World AIDS Day. And let's keep those who are suffering or have been affected with AIDS in our minds. As you mentioned, breezy conditions outside our studios right now, partly cloudy skies. Those winds are whipping out of the east-northeast at 16 miles per hour, and that makes it feels like a comfortable 80 degrees on the outside. Satellite-wise, we have a frontal boundary that's weakening as it drops into the northwest Bahamas. Couple isolated showers mainly across the Bimini, the Grand Bahama area, but most of those showers are now transiting towards the west and out of our area. That frontal boundary will continue to weaken as it continues to push towards the south. And a very large and strong high pressure will be building across us. We're looking at some very, very rough conditions over the next couple of days, actually into the weekend. So boating and beaching will become a challenge. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, our Bethany McDermott has the latest from the official launch of Junkanoo as the countdown to Bay begins. And Solomon's Grand Bahama delivers fresh options and an economic boost as residents welcome the grand opening of the new location. And you don't want to miss the first look at the Margaritaville Christmas tree. Our Marlena Leonard joins us live in downtown Nassau when our news returns.
anticipated Junkanoo season is in full swing with the official announcement made today. Our Bethany McDermott has the latest details.
The 2022 Junkanoo season is officially in full swing. Junkanooers are spending late nights at the shack to bring their A game to bay after a 2-year hiatus. JCNP Chairman Dion Miller noted that this year, funding pumped into the parade far exceeds previous years.
I think, Minister, this would have been the most or the greatest investment or the single largest investment in regards to seed funding.
Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Mario Bolek says the government dished out $2 million in resources to ensure effective Junkanoo parades throughout the country.
Junkanoo tells the story of who we are. We are complex, we are exciting, we are jubilant, we are Bahamians.
Now, with Alive sponsoring this year's parade, Chief Information Officer Dwayne Davis explains how the company intends to handle ticket sales and distributions. And for the very first time, RTV will bring this year's Junkanoo parades alive. Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Thanks, Bethany. While Grand Bahama receiving a major injection into the economy as Solomon's downtown Freeport officially opened its doors to the public today. Now, it's a big deal for Grand Bahamians, as downtown Freeport was once a thriving shopping area for residents, but following several major hurricanes, the area had declined. Chairman and Director of AML Foods Limited, Franklin Butler, says over $4 million was spent.
The even more exciting news is that with this opening of this store, we have added 60 brand spanking new jobs here in Grand Bahama.
The chairman also reflecting on the journey to opening up the downtown location and says it all started after Hurricane Dorian, when he and his team were looking at ways to help restore the economy. He adds that 90% of the project was worked on by Grand Bahamians.
We expect our investment will act as a catalyst for the revitalization of the downtown area and invite other property owners and retail operators to join AML Foods in investing in Freeport.
Minister for Grand Bahama Ginger Moxie says despite the challenges on the island, Grand Bahama has survived because of residents' resilience.
We are determined to forge ahead to rebuild our beautiful island with trusted community partners.
And residents are applauding the move by AML Foods.
Downtown is downtown. For this store to open right in the community next to where I live, so I can walk here.
We are proud to know that some of our persons who were not working would now be employed. But we also would like to let them know, please keep the prices at minimum so you can keep the customers.
Chief Price Inspector of the Consumer Affairs Unit, Reno Smith, leading the team of inspectors at Solomon's, ensuring that every item is priced. He, too, is pleased to witness the resurgence of the downtown community.
I'm happy to see that the people have another choice.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, Carifta 50 launches as a part of the Road to 50 celebrations.
Plus, coming up in sports for tonight, the Andre Rogers Baseball Diamond nearing completion. Team Bahamas named. We'll give you all the details. Also, Buddy Hield and DeAndre Ayton all in action. That's all coming up in sports.
And a downtown resort is dressed for the season. The Christmas tree lighting you don't want to miss. The details when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. With the country embarking on celebrating its 50th anniversary next year, several activities have been planned in the run-up to next July. One of the signature events will be the Carifta Games, which will be held here in the Bahamas. It will be the Games' 50th year and the 9th time it will be hosted in the Bahamas. Now, a press conference to announce the official launch for the Games was held today at the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium grounds. B3A's President Rumiko Archer says this will be the best Carifta ever and definitely oversubscribed. He added that the Games will probably have the largest viewership in its history, as well due to advancements in technology and social media.
This is perhaps the most epic time in the history of our sport. We believe that these Games not only remind us of 50 years of contribution to the Carifta movement, but 50 years of being an independent nation. And this celebration is important to us, and I believe that it will all climax with the Bahamas being the host of perhaps the greatest Carifta Games ever held in any coast city in the Carifta movement.
Youth Sports and Culture Minister Mario Boleg was also on hand for the launch. He said nothing has been unified at the Caribbean community more than the Carifta Games. Boleg also spoke to the infrastructural work being done to ensure the stadium is ready.
Infrastructure works, as presently as you can see, has been going on right now. We have two companies that has done some scope of works for the stadium. Decision will be made shortly that would allow the infrastructure to be ready for Carifta.
Well, a busy few days ahead at the new Andre Rogers Baseball Stadium as the national baseball team is announced and Buddy Hield and DeAndre Ayton in action. Marcellus Hall is on location with a check on sports.
Welcome to Our Sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Right here is where the next few days are going to get very, very exciting, starting with the completion of the Andre Rogers Baseball Diamond, which is anticipated to be by Sunday as they get ready to kick off the 4th version of the Caribbean Baseball Cup right here, featuring teams from all around the world. As it is, Team Bahamas making its announcement today. Action will start on Sunday with Team Bahamas playing at 7 o'clock. That's going to be the feature contest. We hope you guys are going to be able to enjoy it. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what took place this afternoon as the team was announced. Our national baseball team making their debut at the soon-to-be finished Andre Rogers Baseball Diamond. The team announced officially in front of dignitaries and press, including the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Mario Boleg, who talked about just seeing the team out there and knowing that the stadium is complete.
Well, there's a history in the making. Not only that we for the first time we have a field or a stadium at this magnitude which can host minor league baseball, but also being the first time that we are hosting an international competition or qualifier for baseball in the country, and now giving ourselves a chance where we can have the Bahamas qualify for the World Games.
Team manager Jerron Sands also excited as he too is looking forward to getting on the field and representing the country.
Obviously, we're really excited to be here. Excited to open the stadium. The press conference was great. The team is great. The team is excited. Our practice the last 2 weeks was extraordinary. Everyone just excited to go. We all wish it started tomorrow.
Meanwhile, both DeAndre Ayton and Buddy Hield seeing action with their respective teams last night. Taking a look at how they both did. First of all, it was DeAndre Ayton and the Suns. They took to business against the Chicago Bulls. Pretty good game here for DeAndre as the Suns. They get the easy win, 132-113. Again, looking at DeAndre's stats, he finishes up with 30 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Good solid night for DeAndre. Meanwhile, how about Buddy Hield? He and the Indiana Pacers, they took on the Sacramento Kings, Buddy's original team. And here's how this one shaped up. Kings got the win 137-114. Taking a look at Buddy's stats, he finishes up 27 minutes on the floor, 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. Again, not a winning effort, but still a solid night in terms of that. We'll keep you posted as their seasons progress. And there it is, your check on sports for you here on this Thursday here at the Andre Rogers Baseball Diamond. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on our news tonight, Margaritaville's lights are up downtown. Bringing in December 1st, our Marlena Leonard joins us live from the resort in just a moment. And later, will it soon begin to feel like Christmas too? Well, your extended weather forecast is straight ahead when our news returns.
Welcome back to our news. It's safe to say we are now snow deep into the festive season, and we kick things off at Margaritaville, where the downtown resort held its first ever Christmas tree lighting this evening, attracting quite a crowd. Our Marlena Leonard joins us now. Marlena, what is it like? It's beautiful from what I can see.
Yeah, it really was, and honestly, the joy was electric. I mean, it's December 1st, and Margaritaville really wanted to make sure, Christmas is here. And it's not their first Christmas here, but it's their first full-scale Christmas, because they had a party last year, but it had, COVID limitations and masks, so this is the first time that they've really been able to bring people together. And it really was a big melting pot. You had the Prime Minister, you had international dignitaries, locals, young and old, and tourists. We even had a tourist come over a few minutes ago saying, she's from Canada, but that really Bahamian Christmas spirit twist was just something really special to her. And now we have Mrs. Latoya Hannah-Moxie, who's a marketing consultant here at the resort, to just tell us a little bit about the planning. How did you decide to make that Christmas Bahamian style?
Well, we knew that for us being in the heart of downtown Nassau, we knew that the resort wanted to do a little spin on what tourists haven't had a chance to see in the last 2 years. And being the gem and being in the heart of Nassau, it just made sense for us to bring all of our culture together and have the tourists, internal and external guests, enjoy everything that is truly Bahamian. It's been 2 years, and it's about time that we really start to showcase what we've been missing during Christmas time.
And you even incorporated Bahamian school children into that as well.
We did. We had Eva Hilton Primary. They were here singing and had the goatskin drums and doing our own break and scrape version of all of the Christmas carols, and the tourists loved it. It was so awesome that the Prime Minister also felt that over the last 2 years he didn't get an opportunity to experience Christmas the way he wanted to. So this was like kind of ushering in what a Christmas outside would look like. So that was exciting. I mean, just the atmosphere was great. The energy was wonderful, and we can't wait to see what the rest of the month holds for the hotel.
And that's not the only thing they're going to be doing here at Margaritaville. They have a series of Christmas events they're planning on holding, but you'll just have to stay tuned to their website to find out more about that. But reporting live from Margaritaville, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Thanks, Marlena. It all sounds beautiful, and I have to check it out. That was our Marlena Leonard reporting for us live tonight. And that takes us now into your extended look at weather as breezes are beginning to pick up, almost giving us the feeling of cooler temperatures. Greg is back in the Weather Center. Greg, it seems as if you spoke to the man upstairs about those temperatures, because earlier I stepped outside and it started to feel a little bit like my hometown Freeport.
Yeah, I did put in that call last evening.
I appreciate it.
You love the cold there. But yeah, cold front is now moving into the northwest Bahamas as we speak. It's really falling apart. Most of it, the activities in the Gulf of Mexico and out there in the open Atlantic. That front will continue to weaken. High pressure behind that will be developing, and that will continue to generate some rather breezy conditions across the area. Taking a look at how things will be progressing over the next couple of days. That front, as I said, washing out, high pressure in charge, not much in terms of any shower activity expected, but boating and beaching will become a challenge. Small craft asking you to remain in port due to these very rough conditions. Rip current risk high, northeast to east at 15 to 25 knots. It will be closer to 20 to 25 knots across most of the islands, gusting at times. Very rough seas at 5 to 7 feet, but they will be very large swells out there, up to 13 feet. So that's the reason why we're asking you boaters to remain in port. Low tide will be at 8:41 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. And in your extended forecast, a few spotty showers, but the breeze will continue into the weekend. Very challenging conditions, but those winds expected to fall off and conditions will remain rather nice through next week. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Natalia.
Greg, thanks, and I hope those temperatures continue to dip lower. And thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.